Hey, and welcome to the Vice Press Open channel. We're James and Matt from Vice Press. Today's bonus episode was recorded live at Thought Bubble Comic Convention in November of last year. Matt and I were joined by artists Raid 71, Drew Millward and Andrew Swainson, each talking about their releases from the convention. But before we jump onto that, Matt, how are you doing? How's the start of your year been?
Alright, I suppose. I've kind of not been able to do much work yet. I've had a bit of artist's block and stuff and just been a bit just fed up.
I think it's this first
Everybody's
week
like that
back
now,
in
isn't
the
it?
year.
Yeah.
It's like,
work,
Christmas break,
man.
lethargy.
I've had some interesting
all of that
emails
stuff
already and stuff though, so I've got lots of stuff in the works.
Yeah, I think from what you've told me, you've got quite a lot going on. And then with Vice Press, we've got quite a lot going on that's pretty exciting as well. I think this
New
year for
licenses,
you... Yes, exciting. I think this year is going to be... We've got loads coming out. I mean, there's going to be quite a big year for us as Vice Press, and then you've got quite a big year as well with what you've got coming on. But I guess we can't talk about a huge amount of it yet, but it's quite exciting to see what's on the horizon.
Yeah. I'm under NDA, so I can't talk about it. I've got some more ornaments coming out, the dinosaur ones and stuff. So
when's can you talk too much about that?
No, it's when the factories made them is when I can sell them. So there's not much point other than they're wrapping it. Whatever.
When do you think they'll be? Have you kind of got a date yet?
No, because I don't know when they're going to be made.
Fair enough. So I think I think our first release of the year we've got we're planning on doing a mystery tube at the end of the month. We just wanted to make sure that we caught up with all of the releases from December first before we released anything new. I think we agreed that it was important that we cleared the backlog out before we start to release anything new. So we've got the mystery tube coming up, and then we also have the third in Florrie's Jurassic Park, which will be the first official release of the year, which will be the beginning of mid-Feb, maybe the end of January, depending on how quick we get things done. But that'll be a screen print, and that'll be finishing off that set that he's got going on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Anyway, there's going to be this interview thing with Thought Bubble, that we did months ago. That was all right.
Yeah. So
people can watch that.
Yeah. So upcoming is the panel. We'll be back very soon with season 3, series 3 of Open Channel. We look forward to seeing you.
I like that we refer to it as seasons, but really we're just kind of blobbing some videos together.
Yeah.
Seasons.
Season 3. It's just an excuse as to why there's such a long gap in between. If we say that was series 1,
just because we couldn't be bothered to do one for a bit.
Yeah. I think what we're planning to do with this one, though, we're going to release the states of the 6 episodes that we're going to do, or the first 6 episodes.
Yeah, we're going to actually do it like a season, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to be organised. Fancy that, actually. Plan it out.
You can be organised, and I can be a wild card.
Would we have it any other way?
All right.
Yeah.
Cool, everybody. Goodbye.
Enjoy the panel, and we look forward to catching up with you all soon. Take care. Bye now. So today we are going to have time, hopefully at the end, for some questions, so please feel free to think of those. But what we're going to do first of all is we're going to run through some of the releases that we've got this weekend by our panel of guests over here and talk a little bit about them. So first of all, we have Mr. Andrew Swainson's Jaws print. So this is the second release that we've had with Andrew after the Universal Monsters print that we released earlier in the year. And Jaws is one of those posters or one of those films where it's had so many posters released over the past few years. Some of them are quite iconic now. You've got Phantom City creatives, and then there's obviously Matt's done a few as well. But this one is kind of, in my opinion, really up there in terms of original and unique designs. And I think a lot of artists are going to like it. Yeah, shit, how have I not thought of this before? So Andrew, I know when you first came to us with this idea, you've been kind of percolating it for a while. So where did this come from? How did this kind of come to fruition?
Well, I haven't been percolating this for a while. I've been percolating this for about, I think I sent it to you maybe about an hour after I'd done it.
Oh, brilliant. I mean, as far as most people, when we get ideas from Florrie or Matt, they've been percolating for about 30 seconds. In fact, some of them I don't think have even crawled through before. So that's quite a long time.
No, I just had the idea of, I don't know if, are you going to show the work in progress stuff?
Oh no, sorry, I've got, no. I forgot. I'm sorry.
The idea came to me because a friend of mine had started doing drone photography, and she'd done a load of photos on a beach, and I'd seen just the waves breaking in these sort of whitey triangles. And it just reminded me of shark's teeth, and it just sort of really thought, oh, that might be a real good way to do a jaws print.
Yeah. It's really cool. And you've put a few Easter eggs in here as well, which is really clever. I think, can anybody in the room name any of them? I think I've got...
Is it Jaws? is it from the film Jaws?
The kid.
What's the Kit and the Kid. You've got the Kit and the Kid. Anyone recognise these two guys?
Oh, that's Jurassic Park.
Indiana Jones? It is indeed.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I think it's quite clever that you've kind of popped these in. But one thing that's really, I think you made this in Blender, am I right, Andrew? It's a 3D rendering.
Well, yeah, I started off just in Photoshop, but it was all a bit flat, and I wasn't really enjoying it as much. So I thought maybe bringing a bit of a 3D element in to get some perspective onto it might.
Yeah.
Well, actually, what happened was as I was working in Photoshop, I actually constructed one of the beach chairs, the lifeguards chairs. I constructed it in cardboard just so I could get the shadow correct.
Oh, cool.
And once I'd done that, I thought, well, actually, maybe I could just do this in 3D and do everything else in Blender and get the perspective right on all the people and the beach huts and the cars and everything, just to give it a bit more depth.
Yeah, because I guess with the pitch like this where it's from above, you're going to have the shadows are going to be all over the shop, aren't they, in terms of daylight and where the sun is and things along those lines. So did Blender help you kind of fix all of that, or I guess put that into perspective?
Just having a constant, I mean, you would think that anybody who was trying to be an illustrator would be able to draw a shadow in the same direction on numerous figures, but somehow found it rather difficult. Sort of scaling my figures and everything was all so a bit wobbly.
You'd be surprised. I think the artist, not so much the artist, but when we send things through to licensors for their approval and they try to move the source of light and trying to explain to them that the reason that there is shadow on there because then there's no light that exists there, that can always be fun. Cheers for that, Andrew. And here you are. So you went to see The Shark Is Not Broken as well. The Shark Is Broken.
Yeah, Shark Is Broken, yeah. We went just a few weeks ago when we were down at MCM Comic Con. We went off to see that at the theatre one night. And Sam Gilby, who was with us, he'd been in touch with Ian Shaw before COVID and stuff about giving him one of his Jaws prints, which is the framed one you can see there.
Yeah.
And Ian said, yeah, let's just come and meet up after the show. So we.
So he's cosplayed as Matt there.
Yeah.
And our next release.
The other day he said I look like Pablo Escobar.
Is that not you then?
Pablo Escobar at Disneyland, more specifically.
Okay. I wouldn't enjoy Disneyland.
No, exactly. Neither did Pablo Escobar. So thank you very much, Andrew. So our next release we're going to talk about.
Just for a second, can we go back to his?
Sure. And back again.
It's a beautiful print. It is one of those.
Can we all just say that he's won?
He has won the competition.
He's won the posters.
Thank you.
Won the posters.
It's absolutely.
I think it wasn't it AMP Print of the Week this week, Andrew?
Yes, it was.
Poster.
Deservedly so.
Posters of the year.
I mean,
Incredible.
it's one of those perfect balances of something that just looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And then has that second layer of a surprise. But it shows the calmness before the storm. You know what's going to happen. It's anticipation of the film.
Very restrained in a good way.
One of Amblin's comments actually was really good. Is they really liked the use of yellow because yellow in the film signifies forthcoming terror, and it kind of just has that. You've got that kind of dotted through. I think there's kind of this scale of colour thing. I don't know. I'm not an artist, but they liked that as well. That was one thing that they picked up on was the use of colour too. But it's really good. It's just, well done, Andrew.
Well, thank you.
I mean, I know we've mentioned it. I'd love to see a 2436.
well,
Yeah.
we're probably going to do it because people have said it. So if people say it, we'll do it because then we'll make some money.
And the problem with
is,
people...
Is everybody want the 24-36 of that?
Okay, we'll do it.
There you go.
So we can print 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
Print 10 of them.
Job done. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
And the issue that you've got now, Andrew, is that now you've got two successful posters, like Drew and Raid will tell you, that you can never leave us ever.
No,
It's just
That's it,
posters with us for the rest of your life.
that's fine because I'm quite needy.
I thought my debt was paid. I thought I was allowed to leave.
No.
I thought they'd destroyed the Polaroids.
So you haven't destroyed the Polaroids.
So the next release we'll talk about is Mr. Thornley's An American Werewolf in London. So again, Chris, you've been with working with us since our very, in fact, you were our very, very first print, which was Urban Sprawl, back when we did the 2000 AD license, and you've kind of stuck with us through thick and thin. Which
Do you not do Watership Down before that?
No.
That's just Dread first.
Yeah, Dread was our very, very first print that we released.
Oh, well.
It was
You
by
brought us Watership Down, didn't you?
Yeah, and that sold
Well,
out.
James phoned me up as soon as he saw that online and said,
Yeah,
can we
well, you
have this?
did it, and then we sort of...
Yeah, can we have it?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And because your first print with us sold out, I think, in 5 minutes, and we thought, oh shit, yeah, we've got this stuff nailed. Everything after this is going to sell out. Yeah, that didn't. Yeah.
No,
Got mountains of posters by
because my
rubbish
mum's got
eyes.
way
that
too many posters in her
pulped.
house now.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about this one? I know you've got the dynamic here between Piccadilly and also the Moors as well. And you kind of cleverly, and again, same with Andrews. Me and Matt, we tend to avoid things that are a thing within a poster because I guess it was kind of done quite a lot back in the day. But both of these posters do that really, really well. Chris, tell us a little bit about this.
I love this film. I hate this film. I watched this film when I was 11, and I was convinced that werewolf was going through my door for the rest of the night. It shit me up like crazy. That was the babysitter who let me watch it, by the way.
Oh, was it?
Oh, yeah. And they got bored the next day. Because I really did have nightmares all that night.
No tip for you.
But I grabbed you at Thought Bubble and said, I really want to do American Werewolf in London.
You did.
And you said, well, I'll see what I can do. I'll see if we can get the rights for it, because it might be hard and tricky, but I think it took you some time.
It took me a bit of time,
Yeah.
but we got it.
Came back and said, yeah, we've got it. So I just had that image in me. I'd drawn the owl for Blade Runner first.
Oh, I remember that.
And that was floating around in my head if I could reuse that. And I thought, oh, I love American Werewolf in London, especially with all the lights and the neon and the kind of early 80s kind of vibe about it. So that image was in my head when I spoke to you. And I think it took us about 2 years then for me to draw it.
Yeah, because we planned.
'Cause
I
I'm
think we planned to release this one before Gabs's, I think. And I think, but you were busy with the Pixar stuff with Bottleneck Gallery and things along those lines. So you quite rightly, and I think you had another big project you were working on at the time as well. Prior to that, maybe. Okay, yeah.
What was that?
I can't talk.
And then for this, there's also the variant as well.
Polaroids.
So I was, the thing with the variant that I really like on this is that obviously you've got the kind of the difference with the colour. When you look at this, the colour personally, generally, I think most people tend to prefer the variants because I think most companies will always choose generally the better print as a variant. But I think also the regular should always be the lead print. Now what is super cool about this that I'd completely forgotten about until for some reason I had a black light on in my bedroom, was this guy, when that kind of popped up and that kind of jumps out.
It's got the UV in it, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yes. And it's silver that kills werewolves.
Yeah.
And it's the scene where the werewolf dies.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So it just works. It's one of those that kind of pops out really well. And I think the other thing I wanted to say about this is we get asked this a lot, and people originally start to moan when we do things as lithographs, and this is a screen print, because some prints just lend themselves well to being produced as a screen print. Chris, I think your work, I think it's fair to say, Matt, you kind of have a better knowledge than me from the technicality side of things with this. But this is one of those prints that would have been a shame not to do as a screen print, whereas Andrew, I guess with your Jaws, it kind of actually brings out the best in it from a colour perspective and the detail, and also, I guess, everything else that goes along with that to maybe not do it as a screen print?
I think as an artist, you take advantage of whatever medium you're being asked to do. If I can say a screen print and it'll take me 6 colours or 7 colours, then I'm happy to work with that. But if the image starts to suffer and I feel, well, I need to do a gradient here, and it's not going to work, or I need more colours, and that's going to make it costly, then Gickley opens up another door where I can choose as many colours as I want. I'm not restricted.
Yeah.
So I like the restriction of working in a limited colour palette, but I also like the freedom of gradients and blends and shadows and softness as well.
Yeah.
But I don't like seeing Gickleys that should be screen prints. That's the thing I don't like.
I'm vice versa, I would say.
Okay. Yeah. You can see some that have been designed, as flat colours.
Just
And-
hang it.
Disagree.
No, but I like the flat colour of screen prints when you get big areas of it.
Yeah.
Whereas screen print will suffer if you start to do grads and trying to be clever with it like that. You can get problems. Whereas Gickley's brilliant to do gradients.
But I think when people get to that point of making sort of like 78 colour screen
That's
prints, it is like,
That's ridiculous.
why be bothered?
Yes.
10 max. As soon as it goes more than 10, I'm like, you know what? Forget this bullshit. I'm not doing this anymore.
Well, that's it.
You've just killed 3 polar bears.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
And I don't mind either. I
Yeah.
don't mind either medium taking advantage of what it can do.
And that's what we're trying to do more, is give people the creative freedom. Like, you don't have to. If you want to do it as a screen print, great, go for it. You're limited to X amount of colours, but don't be directed by that, because we can always look at
Just be
alternatives in terms of how we do
directed
it. Yeah.
Matt's art direction is shit.
Unbelievable.
Thanks, I know what you mean. Yeah, the type shit. I'll send you some typo.
Yeah. Or can I
I
have
fucking love that.
That is a good one.
Or the other one is, can I have a credit block? Yeah. 6 months later, mate, you got that credit block.
Takes a long time to type up words.
It's alright, I haven't finished the drawing either, so I wasn't pushing for it. It was just like, it'd be quicker if you did it.
This well-oiled
I
machine that
hate
we are.
typing words. And I always make a mistake as well. I'll spell Kurt Russell's name wrong or something. I'm like,
Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
If
we're
it-
all done that.
Curse Russell.
just missed an L off the end.
So if anyone wants to know where those 50 by 70, those hundreds of 50 by 70 The Thing posters that we had, sans the credits, that was because Matt spelt Kurt Russell wrong. Cool. So, anyone got any, on the panel, got any positive comments for Chris?
It's really good.
It is
No,
insanely good.
Like I said, I'm traumatised by that film, so I'm not going to hang that on my wall.
I think
but, just the pleasure of being able to work.
Yeah.
I love that it's big wolf to the and then there to the side, and the title and the credits are to the side as well. So it's like 2 halves.
I was thinking more of the old quads.
Yeah,
that you
it
get,
feels
where-
very
we're
of that
it's on
time.
balance a
I think
little bit.
only seeing the tease of Central London with the neon, I did want it to be a Paddington 2 poster, and it wasn't. I just think it's such an amazing, but it sums up an entire film in one poster, which is not really something that happens a great deal. It's kind of, it's usually one small snippet, and that just isn't. It's everything. all
Tells
at
a
once.
story, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's incredible.
Well, that's something you come back to with Matt. When we're working with newer artists and they want some direction in terms of what shall I do, you kind of generally tell them, I want you to tell a story. We want, with that poster, we want you to tell a story.
Not that way.
Yeah.
Not like that.
Not like that.
Better.
That's shit.
That shit.
Yeah, get rid of it.
Have you seen that?
And our other release this weekend is The Thing by Mr. Drew Millward.
Yeah.
So again, Drew, this is your second print for us, and I've been trying to get you to work for us for 3 or 4 years now, and you finally caved in when it came to doing They Live, and then we managed to get you back for The Thing. So I guess the one thing I wanted to ask you actually, is over the years you've dipped in and out of doing film posters. You've done a few for Mondo, you've kind of come back and done some for us, but you chiefly do your own work and gig posters. I guess for you, where's the difference between doing film posters and gig posters?
I would say it's entirely different. You kind of with with gig posters, you're kind of creating a visual representation of a sonic medium, whereas with film, you are basically you're recreating a visual medium, which is kind of, it's really strange. I kind of find it I find it incredibly difficult, and I think the only times that I've been particularly comfortable with it are the two that I've done with you, I would say, more than anything else.
Is that because we're amazing to work with and we're really easy?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
No,
Thought
that is precisely it.
so.
I think I have to be incredibly sort of choosy about the titles. I need to work out how I can put
Your spin on
my
it.
spin on it.
Because I think it's fair to say, like, and again, this isn't, Matt, you're more of a kind of a chameleon, you have loads of different styles. Andrew, again, you're very talented in that. I guess for Drew and for Chris, you guys have got quite distinctive styles. So does that, when you choose a title, going back to that, do you have to think about, okay, does this fit with what I do, or do you have kind of a degree of adapting that to the title, or is it more of a case of...
Depends how much money you're getting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I think it's kind of... it has to be the right kind of fit, and I think there's kind of... there's certain films, there's certain directors and certain kind of moods of cinema that perhaps fit more with the idea of taking something and running with it in a different direction.
Yeah.
Similar to how I would make a gig poster, rather than something that is so prescriptive in terms of... I don't want to do likenesses. I don't want to draw pictures of characters and things. It doesn't interest me per se, and I don't think it's something that I excel in, and I don't think it's something that I have no interest in it. I never really like drawing something that already exists.
Yeah.
And I think that's the drawback. That's kind of the thing. That's the stumbling block with all the gig posters, the film posters that I've ever done. I think, really,
Yeah.
where it's kind of like I always want to do something way outside of what might be a film poster.
Yeah, it kind of adds your spin to what...
Yeah, I know we've talked about it in the past where there was sort of like things that came up and you were saying, oh, well, we've not got the likeness rights. It's like, right, well, that's great, because I don't want them.
Yeah.
It's like that's kind of, it plays more to the strengths than anything else. But, I mean, also I'd say with The Thing and They Live, it's like, I'm a huge John Carpenter fan, so it's kind of... it was incredibly easy to kind of get in the mindset to do that, whereas I don't think that's always the case. I don't have the same love for cinema as I do for music.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the bottom line.
Well, there's plenty more John Carpenter films, so I think we can keep you busy for a while.
Yeah.
Ghost of Mars.
Well, I'll do vampires next, obviously.
Oh yeah, vampires. Yeah.
I guess
James
following
Woods.
that
Can
same
you do
thing...
James Woods like this though, please?
It will just
And
be...
I want his trousers all the way up.
It'll just be a portrait of James Woods.
Like your Batman picture.
Well,
That's
let's keep that under the table, because I think that's probably a good release at some point.
I think so.
We got Batman. We got Batman in the back pocket.
Batman
Yeah,
in the back
Batman
pocket.
is-
And
that's
judging by this
done.
sketch, likenesses are not an issue.
Very much so.
So I think, again, following on from that theme, without kind of beating it to death, I guess Andrew and Chris, you both have done gig posters, music posters and things in the past. And I was talking to somebody the other day, I think me and Matt were talking about this with Florrie. And I think what generally with films, you're trying to create a poster that fits within a certain box, so you're kind of working towards certain limitations. Some artists like those limitations. Matt, you like that. Florrie, he liked that. Whereas I guess more with gig posters or music posters and things like that, you're given a lot more freedom in terms of, okay, make this you, make it as crazy as you want, do what you want, then stick our name on it. That's a very crude way of me describing that. But, you know, obviously, is that kind of what you think is the difference between those two? Or obviously not just sticking a name on a piece of art.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
think
bit-
there's kind of quite... I think what I would say is more leeway in terms of gig posters and working with bands and doing any sort of album covers, t-shirts, whatever. You've still got to keep that in your mind, that they do have an aesthetic. They always have a visual aesthetic in some way.
Yeah.
And the sonic aesthetic, but it is not so prescriptive. It is not this. It's not this already appears, and you need to redraw this.
Yeah.
It's something you need to basically create somehow create a mood that kind of captures what they do. So it's kind of it's like you would never make the same poster for Madonna as you would do for Slayer.
That would be pretty cool though if you did.
It would, obviously. She didn't like it. But it's kind of it's that sort of thing where it's kind of I love that challenge.
Yeah.
And I think maybe with the film posters it's kind of trying to find that fit where there's enough leeway for it to sort
Kind of make it your own a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Completely.
I think that's what we've seen in the last two, this and the previous posters. Is it's definitely you. You know, it's unique.
Andrew, how about yourself? Because you've done covers for bands and you've done film bands. How does that compare to some of the pop culture stuff that you're doing nowadays as well, in terms of those jobs? How do you approach those?
I think really my work sort of in music industry, I've been more of a glorified art worker, if you like. So I've been translating other people's ideas into into packaging really. So rather than, it's probably in some ways less creative because the concept is not mine, but the execution is.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so it still sometimes does have that same brief that it kind of comes along with.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes they don't know what they want, so
Okay.
I have to sort of step in and think.
If you had to choose, which is it difficult to choose between the two, or do you approach them very different in terms of doing the?
To be honest, I think I approach them the same way. I think if you look at my work, I mean, I always say this. I haven't really got a particular style of doing things. Everything seems to be, or in my head, everything needs to be its own thing. So
Yeah.
I don't have a set approach to doing stuff, and I don't have a set of I don't make the same marks every time that I do stuff. So
Yeah.
it's everything's quite different. It's why you get I've got things like that Holy Grail print.
The tapestry.
Yeah, which is
I'd say
it's like nothing like anything else.
there is something about your work that sticks out to me as an art director, is that you're very meticulous.
Am I?
Yeah, detail orientated. So your stuff is very, well, basically perfect.
Well, I don't
Do you know what I mean?
Well,
So like that Jaws, you could almost put it under a microscope and it's all meticulously made.
We
which
just
is
have to
really-
look.
It's nice to
At how these
go into
detail
depth
shots
with it, yeah.
blow up on a big screen
Yeah.
like
That's
this.
like that big on a poster, so that's
well, that's
ridiculous.
yeah. That you see, the thing is,
And you've done that with your Holy Grail thing, where they've done the tapestry, and it's really thought out.
I think if you compare those sort of like the small thumbnails from the Jaws poster, that is what quite a few Jaws posters have already been. Thinking about the Lauren one, which is just with the umbrella and it's kind of like that exists within a centimetre of your face. Like, it's not to say it's not saying one's better than the other, but it's kind of like there is so much detail in there that it's untrue.
Yeah. It's in my head, I only process that as I've wasted so much time putting all this detail into these tiny figures. I could have done them. I think the original thing was when I sent the original rough over. You said you quite like that sort of painty looseness to it.
I like stuff to be loose.
And that went completely, didn't it?
The thing, if you do something loose, is you don't have to work as much, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's the way I like to do things, because I'm lazy.
Well,
My
I'm
work
kinda
is
lazy
loose,
too.
but it
Lazy
takes,
as well, yeah.
and it takes hours.
Does it take
I'd
hours?
I'll draw a hair, I'll remove it, I'll draw it,
Oh, right,
I'll
okay.
remove it, I'll draw it half, I'll remove it.
Way too lazy to do that, I think.
I'll stroke my chin for about an hour, put it back in.
Okay.
Lights in buildings take me.
It's probably why your stuff
Just
stands
switching
up.
them on, off,
Yeah.
on.
I think you told there was it one of the I think Countdown to Necropolis, or it might have been the Anderson one, and the lights changed every time you sent over something because you were like, oh no, I need to sort out the lights here. I need
There's
to move
3
these
lights
around.
on here and 2 lights on
Did
the
they?
end there. So I had to switch one off there and put one.
I don't remember that.
In my head, I
No.
was balancing
See,
it for ages.
I'm the art director and I didn't notice that, so there you go.
I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah, but I think
I probably just went,
sometimes
yeah,
when,
sorry.
I think you give me too much freedom, so I spend hours just switching lights on. Whereas if you say, no, you've got to have it finished for 3 o'clock, I'm just, right, cool then.
Yeah.
You need a deadline.
But yeah, deadlines are good
deadlines
sometimes.
are good.
Oh, maybe I should start giving you
I'm
all
happy
deadlines
with
then.
deadlines sometimes.
Okay.
If you've got a deadline, then obviously you can
'Cause-
stop.
Yeah. Like I said, I will literally spend all day putting hairs on a fucking werewolf and then remove them because it impacts.
Just getting the balance right. Yeah.
But it takes hours to look that sloppy.
Thanks. So finally we've got Drew, You're the Thing variant, which again kind of gives that consistent series. And this is something, I guess, maybe you're doing it strategically, maybe we're doing it strategically. But with the John Carpenter prints that you're doing, this kind of matches up really well with the They Live. So while the regular colours, the style is the same, there's a style through flow, the colours are very different, but then you've got the consistency in the variant, which kind of works really nice. And again, Prince of Thieves have done their thing with the metallics, which look phenomenal in that kind of size.
I mean, it totally makes sense in terms of both of those films.
Yeah.
Yeah, do the next one gold. Vampires, gold.
Lots of gold.
Yeah.
And glow in the dark.
Yeah, glow in the dark gold.
Can we bejazzle the prints as well?
So from one thing print to another thing print. So we also have, without stealing either person's thunder, we've got Matt's The Thing. So this came from originally, Matt did the box sets for the Studio Canal re-release of 4 of their films and then was approached by Universal to continue that theme. And from the start we were asked, when's this going to be released as a poster, when's it going to be? We always had that plan to release it as a poster. We couldn't release it at the same time due to likeness issues and just getting sign-off from Kurt Russell. As Matt spells it.
Did not like it.
So we kind of had to do that. Now, there will be a regular version of this, which is lighter, but we wanted to bring along the lava foil variant to Thought Bubble, so it's a little bit of, again, something special for you guys to pick up. So, Matt, I don't know whether you want to talk a bit more about the absolute nightmare that was getting the foil right, or anything else about this.
You said to me, how about this lava foil? And I went on the website and I looked at a thumbnail this big.
Yeah.
And I went,
That'll do. So this is a lithograph, but because
but with foil, obviously, it shows through, and you can't.
It's that laissez-faire attitude we've got to expect from your art direction.
Whatever. It's good. Right. Listen. So the white would show through as foil. So that would be this lava foil. So we had to print white base.
All right, to kind of block it out.
Yeah.
So that was the headache that wasn't a headache. Just the printer was phoning me for 24 hours about it, and I was just like, just put the white on.
Yeah, it's easy.
But the foil won't show through. I don't want the foil to show through there. I want the foil to show through in the space.
But it is an example where we do try to be quite meticulous with how we do, because we do something we are quite strict on is quality, and making sure that the printing, the final product that we put out is good, making sure that obviously we kind of get the best from an artist and they're as well represented as we can. And I think this is a good example. We could have quite easily cheaped out and done it, printed it just once, and then you'd have had just a little bit more of the foil. But actually doing this, it really brings the star system out more, and you've got more of a contrast there on Kurt.
People like foil prints and they buy them more. As well.
Yes.
Sorry, did I say that out loud?
I like foil.
So we've got some time for some questions. If anybody's got any questions that they'd like to ask anybody. Gary. Shout up. You can pull your mask.
Gareth here from Mount Drew,
Yes.
your thing poster
Yes.
is ace. How do you approach geek posters and film posters the same in terms of execution, like in terms of your concept? Because it seems like when I look at the thing poster, it almost seems like it's like a meditation on the film, in that you're sort of just expressing in this sort of fire across the sky. Is that just you letting your hand sort of go and draw whatever, or is there something actually I've blocked it? This is what it's going to look like.
Yes. No, it was. Yeah, I think certainly with this one, it was kind of. It is one of my favourite films, so it was kind of. It was like being let loose to do whatever I wanted, almost. I think there's so many things in the film that have bled into. Like you were saying about sort of like the Werewolf in London, that you watched it when you were quite young. I remember watching The Thing when I was quite young, and I think that had such a huge impact on me that so much of that has bled into what I do anyway. So it's kind of, it is difficult to kind of separate the two sort of thing. It's such kind of a part of the DNA of what I do anyway. I mean, there's quite a lot of stuff that I do that isn't particularly sort of, it wouldn't be so obvious to people that, oh, it's obviously inspired by John Carpenter, but so much of the things that I do are. So when it comes to making a poster for a film like that, it's like, oh yeah, no, it almost felt like second nature doing it, I think, which isn't always the case. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to do, and I think the same thing with the They Live poster as well. Was kind of, I know those films inside out, so it was not a problem to make those posters. And like I said before, I don't have the same love for cinema as I do for music, so it was nice to do those. Yeah.
I think just something on the back of it, I think something that I've just realised, running Vice Press, I don't have very many posters up at home. I have a few, but actually I think all four of you sat over, I've got something up at home on my wall by. So there you go.
Well, that's good to know.
Something nice to know.
Yeah.
There you go. Any other questions? Let's go. Yep. I can't remember your name, sorry. Tom. Oh, sorry, Tom. It's also that I'm partially blind. How are you doing, Tom?
Andrew's Jaws posters had a great reception online. There's been a lot of clamouring for him to do something with yourselves at 36 by 24. Is that likely, and what would you and Matt like to see Andrew do before you got that size?
They're going to do it. They're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think me and Matt were talking about this last night, actually. Editions, we launched the Editions range, and the idea behind the Editions, most people in this room, you guys are all poster collectors, and we wanted to obviously cater to you, but there is a lot of time that people come to the website and they want to buy stuff and there's not stuff for sale. And what we didn't want it to be, we didn't want the Editions line to be a subpar line, so we wanted great stuff to go into it. Something that we learned actually with Matt's Halloween release was that limited edition prints and the editions can coexist as one, so we can release a version there and almost treat the editions line as a variant in itself. So I think for Andrew, certainly, if Andrew's up for that, we can look at that and look at how we do a 24 by 36 version and add that in. But I think, Andrew, you're working on something for us now, something else that we kind of started sketching out. Obviously, I don't want to steal your thunder if you don't want us to talk about it too much. But again, I think that would lend itself very well to a full-size 24 by 36 or 18 by 24, whatever he chooses to go down, and editions.
Yes, it would. Yeah, well, we haven't made any discussion about what it ought to be beyond the simple pencil sketch that I've done. So.
But it's kind of the whole idea behind the editions range isn't that it's a sub or inferior line. It's that the stuff is as good as, it's just different and it's another version of. But I think it kind of works well to have them coexist. Does that answer your question, Tom?
Yeah, well, I wasn't being critical.
Oh, no.
Great, I was just
Get out.
Oh yeah, Andrew's going to do loads more stuff for us because he's nice and makes good pictures.
Any other questions? Yes.
I suppose my question is to all five of you, in terms of trends. When you see someone who's like the hot new artist, are you kind of like, should we jump on them, or do you kind of almost sometimes feel like you have to give out a direction that is, or do this because they're doing that, or like do you ever feel any, or are you just like, no, I'll do whatever I want?
No, I do whatever I want.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think the problem is
It's nice that you think that we are the hot new things.
there's four middle-aged white men.
I know we might look hot, but
So trendy.
It's not necessarily
That's nice.
it's not necessarily a trends thing. It's
Cord
more
fit, though. I've got cord shoes.
Excellent.
the cord boys.
You need to get some cords.
No, I'm the odd one of the band.
Oh, yeah, the rebel.
Oh, right.
Chris is the drummer. So going back to your question, Keir, no, Matt is right. No, but I think sometimes when you see somebody pop up, it's about that visibility. So if somebody is doing something well or kind of getting a bit of traction, then maybe it is the first time you've seen them. But something that we're trying to do much more with Vice Press is to go out and find artists, especially from a diversity point of view as well. Not for the sake of ticking a box, but I think there are so many people that are...
At the end of the day, they've got to be good
Yeah,
at drawing or making a picture.
yeah.
Yeah? And that's my opinion.
And we did that open call out about a month ago.
So, but you get inundated with people that
We
can't
did,
draw.
and we found 4 or 5. But through that, we've probably found 4 or 5 people now.
Yeah,
that
yeah, that's what I'm saying,
We're kind of working with.
At the end of the day, it's filtered down between whether you think it's good or not.
Yeah, and it is. Some
And
people
the
are.
people
Some
that-
people are nearly there, but
Don't
maybe
know
not.
what they're talking about.
What?
Nothing.
All right. Any other questions?
Am I allowed to say?
Yeah. Last question. I'm just looking at the time.
It's
Yeah.
just because on editions, I wondered now that it's been running for just over a year, what you think it's done for the business, what it's done, and what it's doing. I mean, one of the things that we want to do with the convention is also to educate new people into the world of alternative movie posters. And do you think that editions is doing that, both in terms of the availability and selling it being available, not just
Yeah. I get where you're coming from. Matt, did you want to answer that? Because you've got a good way of summarising this.
Have I? What?
So with
Edition stuff?
Yeah.
So that everybody can buy it.
Yeah.
What has it done?
So that everybody can buy it.
What has it done?
That's what it's done.
So
You mean
yeah.
about like brand visibility and stuff
No,
like
I
that?
don't mean just about brand visibility. I mean, obviously, you will have sold more than a limited run, so there's sales. But I'm also in terms of what else would you say that it has done, and what do you think?
It's the way that you described it once. Is it's a bit of a
Did I describe it once?
gateway drug.
I did say that, yeah.
That it's,
Then they go, I like this, and then they'll buy the fancy one on foil that's twice the price next time.
but going back
That's
to
why
what
you
you
give stuff away for free at a booth, isn't it? Because then people go, I got a free thing, I better buy something now.
I mean, we get a lot of people at Thought Bubbles, especially on the Sunday. They'll come round and say, I love this poster, and they talk about it, and you say it's a screen print. Oh, all right, explain this, and then you go, it's limited edition. They go, oh, what's that mean? I say, well, once it's been sold out, that's it, you don't mind, right? And it's confusing to them because they're going round to other tables and people are just spitting things out ridiculous. You know, 100 of these, 200 of those, and yet they're charging the same price that you're charging for something that's very limited. And they end up coming back. And today I've sold about 4 or 5 to just families, to just kids who just want them on their bedroom walls.
Yeah.
But really appreciate that this is a limited thing. It's not going to be blue tacked up. It's going to be framed and things like that. And they end up taking your card away. And they understand the whole thing about limited, but I understand what you're saying is, it's not for everybody. And then they'll be confused. Why is this sold out? What's this about? And
I don't think, understandably so, the general public don't understand the idea of screen print.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, well, why would they understand an archaic printing process? It's
Exactly.
fucking pointless. It's kind of like, well, it died out because it's ludicrous. It's disgusting.
It's just a ball ache
It's
to do,
slow.
isn't it? Yeah.
It's expensive. Why would? And it's like it died out a long time ago. It's kind of like they've got no interest in it. I know from. I think it's different in terms of. I think the comic and sort of like. There's always the film side of things. Certainly, there's always there is that kind of collectability idea, and certainly with sort of like posters generally. And I think in like gig posters was always the case, where it's kind of like you were trying to sell a poster at a gig for 10 quid, a screen print, like 10 quid. Can I not just have it?
Yeah.
It's like, well, not really, because I've made it with my hands. I did it. I did this. Can you not give me some money? I've got no money. But it's just it's a weird one. It's kind of like the general public. You need to kind of educate them to the point. And I think so. Certainly with the sort of like the idea of them getting their head around that sort of alternative poster sort of thing. It is, like you say, it's a gateway drug. It's kind of.
Because all I ever get is rage online from people saying, I can't buy it, it's not fair, I want to buy it, it sells out in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So basically we're like, well, here you are then.
Well, tell
How
them to
about
go
that?
and cry into
Have
the
that one.
And
pillow.
it's
The
even when you do
grand's
a
basement.
timed edition, it's like you do a timed edition.
Timed
great,
edition.
You
The
sell a bit
second
more.
the sale has
And then
ended at midnight,
Yeah.
1 minute past midnight, somebody's like,
You get emails.
oh no, I was on the toilet and I missed it. I need one, can I buy one? It's like, no, the time's finished. You can't have it.
But we kind of, you've got to understand that everybody lives on social media
Exactly.
24 hours a day, waiting for you
Yeah.
to say that at this time this print's going to be
Exactly.
available. People have other things.
It's nice to have both options.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think it is. It's giving that to people.
Yeah.
The idea of like, well,
Yeah.
there you go. You can have a nice poster.
Yeah, and I like the idea of having a screen printed 24/36 Jaws print, but having an open edition of a different size.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you get best of both worlds.
It's about transparency as well, isn't it? Kind of saying to folks, okay, cool, we're doing this, but we're also going to do this as well. And then but it doesn't take away
So
from
I can have a 24/36 screen print Jaws poster.
Yeah, we will look at that.
Well, actually, just
It's going to be a real
just
ball
as
into
a,
screen print, that. Are you joking?
as a
Just make it two colour.
supposing,
It's
how
gonna have to be
would
CMYK.
you feel
It's going to be
the
something like that, for sure.
redoing the Jaws one as 24/36 to people who may have already bought the smaller version?
So I think that's a really good question, and I think we'll close on this because I think it's about transparency. Just going back to what was there. So obviously we've got the sale here at Thought Bubble today, and I think when we make the official announcement on Monday about the online sale on Tuesday, we'll have a discussion and we'll just let people know there will be a 24/36
Yeah.
edition coming at a later date, so they have that there. Now, folks will more than likely, or we'll kind of have a look at that, but I think it's just about giving them the knowledge to make that decision. And I think, obviously, a poster like Your Jaws will be on sale for 6 months to a year, and that will trickle through, because even when we do the limited edition version, people will invariably miss out and not get it, so then they will choose to do that one. So,
Yeah.
again, something we found from Matt's Halloween, Patrick Connon's The Thing and stuff like that, it doesn't impact sales because you get the folks that pop up, like Chris says, that don't live on social media, that find it 6 months later and say, oh shit, I missed out on that, but no, never mind, I can get this now. I'll sign up to the newsletter, and next time they do something, hopefully I'll be able to get that one. But they don't leave disappointed because they can have it.
Well, they'll still be disappointed.
Oh, we still got some horrific emails about your Halloween.
As soon as they get it, they're going to be
Yeah,
very
well, what is this shit? I paid 50 quid for this.
a piece of paper.
I get that for £3.99 now on HMV.
So, other than that, thank you very much for everybody for coming. We really appreciate your time. We've down at the booth, so if you do want to ask more questions, each of the guys here has got a table, apart from Drew, who I'm sure you'll find in the pub. Thank you very much.
Maybe.